member of the House Government Operations Subcommittee. Congressman, great to see you again.
Likewise. Thanks for having me, John.
And I wish we were talking about J.T. Daniels and Georgia's newfound passing attack, but we'll have to save that for another time. But let's talk about specifically what Sidney Powell is alleging here as it relates to the governor of Georgia. Have you seen anything that would indicate that this is, possible? What's going on here? And what do you think about her allegations?
Yeah, I've not seen anything along those lines. Sidney Powell is a fine attorney. We all know that, but she's been making some pretty outlandish allegations, which is fine if you have the evidence to back it up. And if she does have the evidence, she needs to start coming forth. Otherwise, it just kind of disincentivizes the base. They want to know if there's real fraud. Let's see it and let's deal with it. I think the majority of the country actually feels that way. They want fair and honest elections, and they're willing to give time right now for the Trump team to prove those types of allegations. But when there are potentially allegations with nothing to back it up, that becomes problematic. That said, apart from Sidney Powell, there, I believe, have been very serious problems in Georgia's election, and we do need to have a recount that is an authentic audit, and we need to get to the bottom of it and let Sidney Powell do her thing. But there are certainly issues that need to be addressed here, no question about that.
One of the pieces of evidence that some people point to in this allegation involving Brian Kemp is that, and this is coming from the New York Times, they reported that Jared Samuel Thomas was one of Dominion's lobbyists in Georgia. He has connections to Governor Brian Kemp. He served as Kemp's campaign manager in his 2002 State Senate race and as his chief of staff to Mr. Kemp. But, I mean, just because he was a lobbyist for Dominion and worked as Brian Kemp's chief of staff, that doesn't mean this is true. But this is the type of stuff that people are circulating out there. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Just because there's some connections in terms of relationship does not mean guilt for pay for play. It doesn't mean it didn't happen either, but it certainly does not prove any degree of guilt. So we've got to just deal with this in a proper kind of way. What I'm concerned about is what is seemingly apparent fraud that took place within the election, and that we need to get to the bottom of. And I'm proud that the Trump campaign is not giving up on that. One thing that comes to mind immediately is the signature verification, which virtually was not done. Those signatures need to be compared with the voter file, the registration file, not just a signature on a ballot. We've got to get to the bottom of who offered legal ballots, who offered illegal ballots, and the illegal ones somehow need to be tossed out.
I'm yet to meet anybody who doesn't want a free and fair election. At least they haven't been willing to admit it. But I want to talk more, too, about Dominion as it relates to Georgia, because this is the equipment that's been used. Yesterday, a spokesperson for Dominion, Michael Steele, who just so happened to work for former former Speaker of the House, John Boehner, he had this to say to Fox News about Dominion voting systems. Take a listen.
No. This is a nonpartisan American company. It is not physically possible for our machines to switch votes from one candidate to the other. Let's be very clear. Our election system is run by local elected officials and nonpartisan poll watchers. We simply provide a tool to count the ballots and to print and count ballots. There is no way such a massive fraud could have taken place, and there are no connections between our company and Venezuela, Germany, Barcelona, Kathmandu, whatever the latest conspiracy theory is.
Congressman, what is your level of confidence in Dominion voting systems?
Well, it's not that great. I do like the fact that we do have in Georgia now the printed copy, the receipt that comes out, so that we are able to verify how we voted, and that is stored, and that certainly helps when it comes to a recount from the physical printed copy versus what the machines printed out themselves. But listen, Dominion does not have a pristine track record. Where there is smoke, there is fire. We've even had Democrats in the past year call for hearings and investigations into Dominion. This is not a partisan thing just with Republicans right now. Their track record raises red flags of concerns, and even some cybersecurity experts would disagree with the comments of the Dominion spokesperson. There are ways that these machines can be manipulated, and certainly if that happened, we need to find out about it.
You know, there are a lot of concerns. These companies claim to be American, but they have offices all over the world. You know, computing, it's a, it's an international type thing. But would you be in favor, Congressman, of some sort of legislation that would standardize the process by which all voting vendors are certified to be used in the system, some sort of way to check this stuff? Because the way it's done across different states is pretty disparate right now. It might not be the same standard in Georgia as it is for some other place. Are you in favor of some sort of national standard for making sure that our election systems are secure?
Well, obviously, I'd want to see that legislation before making a definite answer, but generally speaking, absolutely. Look, and the machines are one thing. The ones counting the ballots are another thing. It's two different, compare the two. So he can say, oh, our machines can't do that. Well, maybe not, but perhaps someone who's counting the ballots can. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to do a thorough investigation across the board. But yes, somehow along the way, we need some legislation that is going to secure for the American people fair elections where legal ballots are the only ones that are cast and legal ballots are the only ones that are counted. If we lose the integrity of our ballot box, we lose our republic, and we cannot obviously do that. So this is a fight of our lifetime, and we've got to maintain the security of the ballot box in this country.
Well put, Congressman. I couldn't have said it better myself. Lastly, as we wrap up here, there's a growing list of Republicans who have called on President Trump to go ahead and concede and start the transition process. We can put up the list of names here on the screen. Nobody, I think, would be surprised by this list at that point. But, you got Pat Toomey, Chris Christie, Kevin Cramer, Fred Upton, Lisa Murkowski, Larry Hogan. Kevin Cramer said, look, let's let the legal process play out. But do you think it's maybe time that President Trump needs to do more to work with Joe Biden and his team on what happens next?
No, I don't think it's time for that yet. We're still in the investigation process. We still have electoral votes that have not been cast. We have 6 states where there is allegations of serious fraud, Georgia being one of those, and I can see how it happened right here in Georgia, and I'm not convinced at all, not for 1 second am I convinced that Joe Biden won the state of Georgia. I think the president's exactly right to pursue every legal option that he has available. And the people of this country need to be patient for that process to run out because, again, at the end of the day, what matters is a fair election. We want to make sure that if there was fraud in this one, that we find it and we correct the results as needed.
No need to rush. Congressman, we appreciate your time. As always, thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
All right. Republicans chipping away at the Democratic majority in Congress this election cycle.